Customer service, it doesn't take a whole lot to stand out and be better and shine and leave a lasting impression in everybody you encountered. Welcome back to another episode of the Tradepreneur Show. Your host, Patrick Summers, co-host Tanya Priest.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, listen, I want to do an episode today, not a real long one. I want to be short and sweet on this, and I want to talk about something that is so important, and it is the lost art of customer service. And the reality is, little things make a big difference. Customer service doesn't have to be this grandiose process and, intense thing. What really matters is the small things we do, right? When we interact with a customer. I always use the convenience store analogy because I walk into so many convenience stores and you either get nothing or you get a, hello, welcome to such and such, and it's scripted, right? Like like they're being graded. Like they have AI grading them as to whether or not they did a proper greeting. And sometimes that greeting they don't even look up. Now, again, the new thing is, and I haven't heard it now, it's starting to fade. About 6 months, 8 months ago, everywhere I went, it was welcome in. All of a sudden, it was welcome. Yes. Yeah. Welcome in. I'm like, who sent the memo out to add in to welcome? Like, welcome in. And so I'm thinking, like, well, I went to Coachella and Stagecoach, which is outside. Nobody said welcome out. But I'm like, welcome in. Okay, we're adding in. And everybody started using it. And I'm like, now I'm noticing I'm not really hearing the in part. So maybe the memo went out that, like, this is not realistic.
Yeah.
It might stop saying.
Nobody's being authentic at all.
There you go, Tanya. The key word.
Just
authenticity.
Yeah.
Authenticity. Right? And so how like the welcome should be like something that's actually authentic about that message that stands out. And it's not really hard to do. What if you walked in I walk into Starbucks. What if I walk in and they're like, welcome to Starbucks. And then, not in the same sentence, but maybe it's like, hey, it's a fantastic looking shirt.
Hey.
Right?
Go above and beyond.
Or, hey, that color looks great on you. Or, welcome, how's your day going so far? Right? Asking that question, not just making a blanket statement. So, that's just a simple example of how you make the difference. Like, if I went into a Starbucks, and I use Starbucks because, they're prominent. I go there regularly. And they're probably what I would put on the higher echelon of, like, it's not the AM PM. And nothing against AM PM, but you get the difference, right? You're supposed to go into this third place for your coffee. So they started writing messages on the cups, which is kind of cool.
I like
right?
it.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
So, and to me, that's a little thing that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Right? And some of the messages are really cool. Some are just standard. But the fact is they're taking the time to do that. And so somebody at corporate told them that. That's why they're all doing it. Imagine if somebody just did that because that was their thing. It's like Johnny the Bagger. You know that story? Remember that story? Johnny the Bagger?
I don't know.
I'm going to tell you that story here in a minute.
Tell me the story, Patrick.
Anyways, if you walk into a place like a Starbucks or any other store, retail, food, whatever, and they say, welcome, whether they say welcome or welcome in, or they say welcome in, right? After the statement, what if there was a question? What if there was a personalized comment? How much difference would that make?
Right.
So little things make a huge difference. And I want to talk about the company. It was Angie's List, and Angie got rid of her list, and now it's just Angie's. And that's what happens when private equity buys you.
Right.
Right? You make a lot of money. They're like, it's no longer Angie's List. We're Angie's. And we have crumpets and tea. So anyway, so now Angie's, they ran these commercials, and they were about the trades. Right. Calling people, finding a plumber, electrician, HVAC, roof, all these different trades. And there was a couple that really stood out. And one was the comment, it was about the reviews these people left based on somebody they found on Angie's List at the time, before Angie's. And the one was about the plumber and how he got to the house before her, which is, this is a little weird, but I'm just going to assume they know each other. and he was waiting for her, and the dog, he could sense the dog had to go out. He took the dog out and took the dog for a walk, which I'm like, okay, that might be a little like this. I hope there's a relationship there of some sort, but the point is, wow, right?
Right.
Wow. I'm like, how did he get in the house? Why is he in the house? But anyways, that was a real commercial. The other one was how somebody had done the dishes. You know, I think she just had surgery or something like that and noticed that sink was over full, and he took time and did the dishes for her. The point is, the ads are not about how clean the tools were, how fancy the tools were. Mm-hmm. Like, wow, the way that individual set up a ladder, that was top notch. It was about the feelings, the experience,
Right.
the caring.
Taking the trash out.
Taking the trash out or pulling the trash cans up.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a house, hey, while I'm here and I've got my ladder, have you changed your smoke detector batteries in the last year?
Right.
Right? If you have batteries, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Or you see a light bulb out.
Yeah, or not even out, but you say, hey, I got my ladder. Is there any light bulbs you need changed? Mm-hmm. If you have the light bulb, we're more happy to do it. Such a tiny thing that really doesn't take a whole lot of time. You know, now if they say, yeah, could you change everyone out? Now you're going to be like, okay, well, I don't have that much time, but I can certainly, arrange it.
Nah, sure, it'll be $200.
People aren't going to be asking that. And most people are going to be like, no, fine. But the fact of the matter is you did something nobody else
Right.
has, right?
Right.
I remember my wife's a nurse, and she had this patient. And the patient also happened to be a customer of general air conditioning and plumbing. And I got home one day and my wife tells me like, oh, Mr. So-and-so wanted me to tell you that your guys are costing you money. I said, this is an old timer, right? I said, really? Why? Well, he so-and-so came out to the house and he did a great job, and he used the hose, or he didn't even use those. I think he disconnected the homeowner's hose and used his own hose. But then he's like, he connected his hose back, and then my hose, he took it and rolled it up in a nice, spiral pile or whatever. And
that's nice.
Yeah, and he's like, that's costing your husband money because he has to pay him to do that. And
that's odd.
But then he said in the same breath, he's like, but I really appreciate that he did that. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, so
that's the whole point of it.
But he's a guy who's looking at, like, he's the type of guy that shuts the lights out. When you make sure you shut the lights out, you don't own the electric company type, right?
Right.
So he's looking at it from a business owner's perspective, and like, hey, that's costing money, that takes time. But hey, that was really cool that he did that.
Yeah.
But that was a little tiny thing that this kid did, and it left an impact on this guy. Mm-hmm. So the customer service is, and you said it earlier, Tanya, to deliver phenomenal customer service doesn't take a whole lot, but it takes being authentic. You have to want to serve. You want to have to be the go-giver. You've got to want to be that person, and you've got to be genuine and authentic about it. Because if you're not, then it's just a process that you have to do so you can check
right.
off the box, right?
Right. You should want to do small little things for people. You should want to, I mean, so I'll just give an example for myself. I would always go out and check to see if there was something I can do. I used to get up at attics all the time and ask them for a sponge and clean the attic access with fingerprints all over it. Like, those small little things go a long way.
Were they your fingerprints?
They were not, because I grease on my fingerprints.
Yeah, and the point is, listen, and whether it's on the phone or it's in person, empathy goes a long way. Mm-hmm. Now, you may be saying, okay, what is empathy versus sympathy? And it's something that, a lot of people confuse the two. And I used to. And it was explained to me this way. Sympathy is you're walking through the woods and you find a person that fell in a hole, the deep hole, and they're stuck in there. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. I feel so bad for you. And you jump in the hole with them. Right? That's sympathy. Empathy is you're walking along, you come across the same person in a hole. You're like, oh my gosh, that must be so frustrating. You must be so frightened and like just stressed out. Don't worry, I'm going to get you out. Right?
Right.
So you could empathize with them, but then you're going to get them a solution. Right. And so we, especially on the phones, with the when somebody calls in. A lot of times somebody calls into like the business we're in, and they're not happy people because they're hot, they're cold, or they have no hot water, or there's no electricity, whatever it may be. And so you have to be able to empathize with their situation.
Definitely.
But then not sympathize, because now you got to go to work on getting a solution and assuring them. And that is a big part of customer service, is providing assurance,
Right.
and exuding confidence. And that goes such a long way in making someone feel heard and cared for and relieved that they made the right decision in choosing the business they chose, right? So customer service, again, is about the experience. What experience can you create for the customer? There used to be a time where we would go out and you would pick apples and you would get all the raw ingredients and you'd go back and you'd make a pie crust from scratch, right? And then you'd slice the apples and do everything you do, and then you make an apple pie from scratch, right? Used to be the way the world worked. And some people still do that, but not the majority. Then we evolved to, you would go out and you'd buy a pre-made pie crust with pie filling, and you put it all together, and then you bake it, and then you would call it a homemade pie, right? Not quite the same as making everything from scratch, right? Yeah, like those aren't your thumb marks in the crust. So then we evolved to, you go out and you buy an apple pie pre-made, right? And you bring it home and you take it out of the wrapping and you'd say, look, I made a pie. Right?
Again.
We are now at a place where it's not just about buying the pie, it's about the experience of buying the pie.
Right.
Right? It's about, like, just think of packaging when we get something. It's a little obsessive how things are packaged. My wife, she'll go to the department store to buy her cosmetics, right? I'm like, hey, why do you buy that from there? She said, well, it's so good and it's the best. I'm like, I bet you if you could do studies, it's the same as what you can get at CVS. The difference is you don't have people in lab coats, and you don't have people like doing this whole experience and putting it on you and talking about it and sampling this and, oh, look at this, you know. And then when you buy the lipstick, right, the tube of lipstick, they put it in a bag this big, right? Then they throw a bunch of samples of shit in there.
Yep.
Then they poof it with paper.
Yes.
Right?
It's like a little present.
And then you walk out of the department store and everybody's like, ooh, look at that. And so I'm like, it's the experience, right? Now, she assures me that it is a better quality cosmetic. I don't know. I don't use cosmetics, but I'm going to take her word for it. But the point is, it's also the experience. The experience is so important. And we, in the trades, need to learn how to do a better job of bringing that type of experience to our homeowners. We need to do it on the micro and the macro level, right?
Right.
We've got to be able to do it as a company as a whole. Then we've got to be able to do it department by department. And then we got to break it down to the individual interactions that customer has with our company, whether it's calling in and booking a call, calling in on a billing question, calling in on a follow-up to something, or our technicians going into the home, whatever it is, the experience has to be, the company has to have a philosophy of delivering a phenomenal customer experience and making the interaction an experience. Yes. And then we have to be able to break it down to the department level and then to the individual level. And if you can do that, not to belittle what people do in the trades, because it is a skill and it takes a long time to become proficient in a trade. But at the end of the day, you could teach most people to do what it takes. So there are 100 different companies out here, let's say all do an HVAC. Well, all of them are probably pretty good at HVAC, right? But what is the experience like dealing with them? What is the customer experience like? Is it easy to do business with them? is the company responsive when there's something good or bad that has to be addressed? The whole experience matters. Companies are built and are wildly successful because they deliver a better experience. And so how do you do that as the individual? How do you do that as the company? You could have a course on it.
Right.
Right?
Things you could do.
But what do we do? What do we do in the immediate? One, if you're a business owner, you have to create that culture of service. You have to create that culture of we are here to serve and we are here to do it better than anybody else. And part of doing it better than anybody else is the experience we create, the feeling we leave that customer with. A lot of that comes in the follow-up. How many companies follow up really, really well after the sale?
You mentioned the thank you card too. Like just those little things. I mean, that's a customer experience.
Thank you card is a huge customer experience. An owner or upper manager going out and meeting a customer, especially one that's made a significant investment, is a huge customer experience point. A technician. One of the first calls I ever went on as a technician, I remember, if you're listening, his name was Casey Harrison. Real good dude. And the first call I went on with him, I rode with him the first day. The very first call I went on with him was in a development in La Quinta. And these were, seasonal people. They were from the Midwest or Canada. And they were in town, and we were doing their heating maintenance. And we went there in 2 systems, horizontals in the attic. We did the maintenance with them. We got done, and we came down, and we spent like 30 minutes having coffee with them. And this is my first call as a technician. I'm thinking like the guy that said we're wasting money because we rolled up the hose. Yeah. I'm thinking like a business owner, because I had owned businesses. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, we can't be, we got to go work. We got to go to the next call. And I'll never forget, he said, Patrick, I go to these customers. They request me. They want me. Their systems are going to need to be replaced. They enjoy my company, and they always want me to have coffee with them. I'm going to have coffee with them because it makes them happy.
Yeah.
And I was like...
Ooh, just got goosebumps.
Yeah. And I was like...
That's pretty cool.
Okay. I get that. Still not jiving with it, because I'm still thinking like... Business. I'm doing the math in my head. Mm-hmm. But I was like, okay. That's because when they do need to replace, when they do need something, they're going to call the general, and they're going to use Casey. Right. And so it was that experience, and he connected with them. So being able to connect with that homeowner and being able to really listen to them, that's a big part of it, is listening. But how do you create that experience? I say it all the time, how many take a video of themselves afterwards and send it to them? Hey, it was great taking care of your system today. Thanks for trusting me in your home. I look forward to seeing you in the spring.
That's a really cool idea.
But it's like, who does it? Who does it? It should be done.
So
right?
easy.
The thank you card. The thank you card. You don't have to pay postage. In general, we pay the postage.
Right.
You write a thank you card. One of the greatest things is, especially if they're an elderly person and they live alone and they have a pet. For anybody that has a pet, like, people will do business with you to take care of their pets before they will to take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. So if you remember their pet, that goes a long way. In fact, I'm going to tell you a story, and I don't know if I shared this story, but I was out visiting installs. This was probably 6-7 years ago. And I go to this house, and the old system, the system's like 16, 17 years old. And I said to the technician, he's doing a maintenance on this call I went to, and I said, hey, how's the system? He's like, it's running like a 16, 17-year-old system. I said, okay. I said, have you talked to her about, the benefits of replacing it? He said, no. Or he said, yes, but she's going to wait. She's not interested. She said she's fine, and, it's not important to her. I said, okay. I said, have you seen the ductwork? And this is where ride-along's coming. Even though I wasn't in the truck with him, he said, no, I haven't gone in the attic yet. I said, well, you're going to, right? Oh, yeah, I am. I said, okay, because that's part of what we do. So he went in the attic, and ductwork wasn't the best, all right? And you wouldn't expect it to be. And I said, you know what? Why don't you talk to her? Now, the woman had, like, literally probably 15, 20 cats around. And she wasn't like a cat person. Like, the house was very, meaning the house was very clean and organized.
Gotcha.
And she had pallets of kitty litter and cat food in her garage. Well, evidently the county or somebody gave her, paid her and took care of the food and everything for these cats.
Oh, wow.
Right? And then they tried and find them homes or something. And so she was passionate about cats. I mean, you had to be, right? To, like...
Have that many.
Yeah. And so talked to her about the ductwork and everything. And she said it does get hot some days and this and that. But, you know, it's fine. She's not worried about it. And I said, what about the cats? And he's like, what do you mean? I said, look at all her cats. Does it matter to the cats? So he literally went to her and talked to her and said, you know, ma'am, I understand it doesn't matter to you and you'll be uncomfortable. What about the cats? She replaced her system and all the duct.
Oh my gosh.
Because to her,
that was important.
she was a single woman there by herself. She's like, to her, it didn't matter. Was it what was important to her? Her comfort really didn't. I mean, she could bear it. It didn't matter. Well, when he said, well, what about the cats? Then she was like, wow, okay. I want my cats to be comfortable.
Right.
Right. And so it was about knowing what matters to the individual, having the conversation in the context of what matters, sharing them with them options. And that's customer service.
Yeah.
That's delivering a level of experience that she wasn't even thinking about because she was only thinking about herself.
Right.
Right. And it was a fun install because we were in the attic. I wasn't in the attic, but the guy, I stopped out on the day of the job and spoke to the homeowner and speaking to the installers, and it was a challenging install because I had to keep the cats from getting out every time they went into the garage. But they're like, yeah, we're in the attic and there's cats. They're climbing up in the attic and they're climbing all over the attic.
That's cool.
Yeah, but the thing is, and she was so thrilled that she went through with it afterward. And I talked to her afterwards and she's like, yeah, it wasn't really like, I wasn't thinking about anything because it was me. And I'm like, but you know, then when you mention the cats, and she says, and I'm really glad I did it. I didn't realize how bad my other system wasn't keeping me comfortable. And now she says, this is night or day, right? But it's how do you have the conversation? And do you speak, what do they say? You got to tune into, what is it? WIFM? What's in it for me?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you got to listen to what, and that's a big part of delivering a customer service experience is what matters to the customer.
Right.
What matters to the customer? Whether you're selling coffee, fixing air conditioners, selling lipstick, booking vacations, how do you create that experience? How do you individualize? How do you take the concept of a business, right, up here and push it down to departments and individuals? How do you create that experience on the front line? And there is real quick before we wrap up, there is a big hotel brand here in town, and it's one of their higher end hotels. And one of the women that works there, I've known her for quite a while, and she was telling me she works at like the front desk, and she was sharing with me a review that got sent in from one of the clients who had a big business event there. And what she did for this client, who she made it an over-the-top experience. It started out with some rough stuff because there was some confusion in the booking and everything like that. But at the end, they're remodeling this place, and it's been around for a long time. It's almost historic. It's not like on the registry or anything, but it's part of the valley, right? Right. And so they're remodeling it, and so there's these tiles that have been there for years, decades, and they're pulling them out, and they're doing something with them. I can't remember where it was, but she went to the person in charge and said, hey, listen, can I get a few of those tiles? and I want to do something for our guests to spend a lot of money with us. So she took the tiles and put this stuff on them and put them in these bags and created like these gift bags with a piece of the hotel's history in it, and gave it to the owner of the company and some of his top people who kind of put this whole thing on, and gave it with a little thank you card to each of them. She's thanking them, right? Obviously for being customers, everything like that, but it was an over the top.
Yeah.
It didn't cost her anything, didn't take her really a whole lot of time or energy, but it made such the difference that it created a phenomenal review being sent in, not just like an online review, to the GM of the hotel.
Wow.
Handwritten.
Big deal.
And with the commitment that we are coming back every year to your hotel because of this individual.
That's a level that everybody should want to be at.
It's a level everybody should want to be at, but the organization has to be at that level.
It's true.
Right?
Yes.
If the individual's at that level and they're in an organization that doesn't embrace that, the individual will still thrive, but they're going to be limited on what they can do. You've got to build an organization that creates a customer experience and pushes it down to everybody in the organization, and everybody in the organization pushes it back up and out. And that is how you make a difference. Customer service, it's a buzzword, but I'm telling you, it is a dying art. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't take a whole lot to stand out and be better and shine and leave a lasting impression in everybody you encountered. So listen, if you're going to go out there and you're going to work and you're going to have a career, you're going to interact, you might as well be great at it. You might as well be better than everybody else. You might as well have fun doing it. So until next time, another episode of the Tradepreneur Show. Tanya Priest, thank you very much. I appreciate you co-hosting.
Thanks.
Look forward to the next episode. We're going to talk about pricing yourself to the bottom and how not to do that. Until next time, be great.